So today we're going to dig into a simple, but honestly a pretty profound idea that at its core, life isn't about static, separate parts, but about dynamic, vibrating relationships. We're going to unpack this argument that if you look at health through the lens of vibration, you get this incredible framework that ties together ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science. All right, let's jump in. Everything really kicks off with this one question. It sounds a little philosophical, I know, but it is the absolute bedrock for this whole idea. The argument goes like this. For something to even exist, it has to be in motion. I mean, think about it. Absolute stillness, zero change, zero difference. Well, that's basically the definition of non-existence, right? So movement isn't just something things do, it's what allows them to be in the first place. And this quote right here, this is our North Star for today. This is the core idea we're building up to. It completely flips the script on how we think about health. We stop seeing it as this fixed snapshot, the perfect blood test result or a flawless X-ray, and we start seeing it as a continuous performance, a symphony that's constantly being played and needs to stay in tune. So to get there, we've got a pretty straightforward roadmap. First, we'll look at the principle, the pure logic of why vibration is just so fundamental. Then we'll see how this idea has been put into practice, how it's echoed through human experience for centuries. And finally, we'll tie it all together with modern science, which, believe it or not, is just now creating the tools to actually measure these rhythms. All right, let's start with the why. This first section is all about getting down to first principles. We're basically asking, if something is going to exist and not just instantly vanish, what is the absolute most basic, most fundamental kind of motion it must have? This slide right here lays out the entire logical chain, and it's actually incredibly elegant. So first, to exist is to move. We've got that down. Second, what's the simplest, most efficient way to keep moving? It's not a straight line. That just ends. It's a vibration, a back and forth. It can sustain itself. Third, as soon as you have a repeating vibration, you automatically have a rhythm, a frequency. And fourth, you take different frequencies, you combine them, and bam, that's how you get all the incredible diversity we see in the universe. Now, the source material uses the ancient term qi to talk about this, but it's really, really crucial we understand what it means in this context. We're not talking about some kind of mystical energy force here. It's simply the word for this fundamental state of being, that dynamic potential that has to exist before you can have any form or any function. It's really the verb of to be, not the noun of a thing. And this is where it gets really cool. The difference between, say, a bone and a muscle, and even a thought, isn't that they're made of totally different stuff. It's that they're all expressions of the exact same underlying dynamic logic, just vibrating at different stable frequencies. The best analogy is a single guitar string. It's one string, but by changing how it vibrates, you can create a whole scale of completely different musical notes. It's a beautiful way to see how unity can create incredible diversity. Okay, so we've got the abstract principle. Now let's see how it actually shows up in the real world. I mean, if this vibrational logic is so fundamental, then you'd expect that humans would have intuitively figured out how to work with it long before we had the fancy words or science to describe it. And that's exactly what we find. This table gives us a great bird's eye view. Look across the board. Whether it's sound, breath, movement, or even how we arrange our environment, the underlying goal in all these ancient practices is amazingly consistent. It's all about regulating, stabilizing, and harmonizing the body's internal rhythms. Let's just take sound for a second. Practices like chanting mantras or the 6 healing sounds aren't really about the meaning of the words. It's about using the literal, physical vibration of your own voice to create resonance inside your body. You're using a rhythm you can control to gently nudge and harmonize all your internal rhythms. It's direct physical communication with your own biology. Or think about the breath. What are practices like Qigong or yoga's pranayama really all about? Well, they're using the one powerful rhythm that we have direct, conscious control over, our breathing, as a master lever to regulate all the other rhythms we can't control, like our heart rate and our nervous system. When you breathe slowly and rhythmically, you're sending a powerful signal of safety and coherence through your entire system.
And, even a practice like Feng Shui can be understood through this lens. It's not about magic. You can think of it as an early empirical science of how these steady, long-term vibrations of your environment, the way air flows, the quality of the light, the physical layout, how all that stuff affects your own internal stability over time. It's just a recognition that we're in a constant rhythmic dance with the world around us.
Okay, so we've seen the logic, we've seen the ancient practice. So now for the third act, the proof. How is modern science, with all of its incredibly sophisticated tools, finally starting to measure and really rediscover this vibrational view of life? And this quote from Nikola Tesla is just the perfect bridge. He was so ahead of his time. It captures this huge shift in thinking, moving away from seeing the body as just a collection of solid parts and starting to appreciate the dynamic, rhythmic processes that hold it all together. This slide right here contrasts the two viewpoints perfectly. Traditional, what we're calling structural medicine, is like a car mechanic looking for a broken part. But this emerging dynamic systems medicine is more like a symphony conductor, listening for when the orchestra starts to fall out of sync. Health, in this view, isn't just the absence of a broken part. It's the entire system's ability to stay coordinated, flexible, and in rhythm. And we can actually measure this stuff now. This isn't just a metaphor anymore. We have tools that measure heart rate variability, which tells us how flexible our nervous system is. We use EEGs to see the synchronized rhythms of our brain. We track our circadian rhythms, our daily cycles of sleep and energy. We can even measure things like network synchronicity, which is just a fancy way of saying how well different parts of our body are talking to each other. These are all real, quantifiable numbers that measure our body's vibrational state. Let's apply this to something really serious, like a heart attack. The old structural view sees it as a sudden event, a blockage appears. But the dynamic view totally reframes it. It's not a sudden event at all. It's actually the final stage of a long, slow process where the system's rhythmic flexibility gets worse and worse over time, coordination gets lost, and only then does that final catastrophic structural failure happen. And this is where modern tech gets so exciting. Our body's rhythms are incredibly complex, way too complex for the human eye to track. But AI can analyze huge streams of data from wearables and sensors, and it can detect those tiny, subtle shifts, those early warning signs of a rhythm breaking down, long before any structural problem would ever show up on a scan. So it all comes back to this. This is the big takeaway. Your health isn't a static picture you take once a year at a checkup. It is a continuous, dynamic performance. It's a symphony of trillions of cells all vibrating together in harmony. The goal isn't to be a perfect statue, it's to be a well-conducted orchestra. And that leaves us with one final thought. And this isn't a theory, this is a question for you. If your health, your thoughts, your entire existence is a vibration, what's the quality of that rhythm? Is it harmonious? Coherent? Or is it chaotic and dissonant? What song are you playing?